Right. Sorry for the delay. Next point, coming to talk. My name is Tatsuhiko Miyagawa. I'm going to talk today a little bit about my software I've been working on for the past 2 years. You might be heard of this software. You might have given it a shot at some time in the past. Maybe it was not ready at that time, especially when I started working it 2 years ago. It was not ready for use for production, but this summer I made a major release for this software 1.0, and I'm working on the next major update for this software, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So it's a little bit about me. I live in San Francisco, flew from San Francisco last week to attend Nordic Perl workshop in Copenhagen, and then early this weekend I spent a couple of nights in Frankfurt, lots of beer and sausages. And Wednesday, flew to London. I'm going to fly back to San Francisco tomorrow. Anyway, part of this trip has been sponsored by one of the sponsors of this conference, Active Securities, so thank you very much. So today I'm going to talk about Carton. What this Carton does is to manage CPAN dependencies. There's been a lot of talk about this topic lately, I think. So the question comes down to how many CPAN modules does your app depend on? 5, 10, 20, thousands, yeah. How about 0? Because you don't trust any CPAN modules. If that's the case, you're in the wrong room because you don't have that problem. We're going to talk about it in the next 40 minutes. So when is the last time upgrading any one of the CPAN modules breaks your application? Maybe last week, maybe tomorrow. So how does this happen? Let's just take a case study, just simple application. It doesn't have to be a web application. I use a lot of Carton and a lot of tools for a web application, but it doesn't have to be that. It's a command line application, recording application, backend application, any kind of apps can be used with Carton. So you're writing a new application with a bunch of CPAN modules, web frameworks and modules, libraries, and get them from CPAN, install it on your laptop with department machines and with cpanm, and pull the latest modules in CPAN. That's fine. And write the code, and test it, and it works. So you're going to ship to the production to the world. But what if the schedule goes like this, and you start working on the software July 2nd, and pull all the modules from CPAN on that date, and a couple of weeks there, you finish the development and then push the production, and just the day before the deployment, the author of your framework decide to release a new version of the framework, and then when you run the command cpanm web framework on the production machine, it will pull a different version of the module that you have on your local machine, and there are a bunch of API changes and a bunch of duplication and lots of code just starts to break. So that's how upgrading CPAN modules breaks your app. So one of the key points that I want to talk about today is dependencies are part of your application. That's my thoughts on this situation. There's a bunch of solutions to handle CPAN modules, Perl modules as part of the system rather than your app. Install a Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Fedora, and then install a bunch of Perl something packages and RPM and YUM run out. That will work, but my position to this is to all of the CPAN modules, the APIs and frameworks and libraries, it has to be in sync with the application, and as long as you manage deployments of your application, that version needs to be synced between your app and the dependency. So the dependency is part of the application. So that's the one of the most important things I want to tell in this topic. So how to deal with these problems? One of the solutions is to use cpanm 1.6 that was released earlier this year. It's a new way to specify the version number of the module from the command line. So when you specify cpanm, the module name, with the @ sign, right after the name of the module, you can specify the version number that you want to pull instead of the latest thing you have on cpanm. You can do a little bit more complex query. This is for shell scripting and not command line use because the syntax is kind of wacky. But you can specify the tilde after the name of the module and it specifies the query. So bigger than 1.0 but smaller than 1.2 if you know 1.2 breaks your application. It's kind of crazy syntax. This is powered by Meta CPAN. So Meta CPAN has an API. Give me this module with the version between this and this, and then Meta CPAN gets back you the result of the possible, versions of the module. So that's cool. So that's great for shell scripting, but another solution that can be done on top of that is to use a format called cpanm file. I think I presented this 2 years ago at this conference. That was the first time I introduced this file. cpanm file is just a Perl file. It's not executable, it's just a file that contains a Perl script in it. And it's a DSL basically. So you specify a list of modules, requires this module and this version number. And you can use cpanm command with the option -- install deps to install all the list of modules in the cpanm file. So the format might be similar to you use or have used module install previously. So the format is kind of compatible to module install. So you say requires, recommends, suggests, and context as well. You can say that. And by default, all the requirements are for the runtime, but you can specify a different phase, like this module is only required for testing, this module is only required for debug and not for the production. These kind of things can be specified with this simple DSL. And the format is inspired by Ruby's gem file. And as I said, it's kind of compatible to module install. And internally, it can be converted into cpanm meta objects. And a bunch of tools called cpanm file already. Module install, DZL, and cpanm. So cpanm file, just to stand alone by itself, can be used in a variety of ways. And so if you use cpanm file on top with cpanm, it's very simple and it's really powerful to specify you want this module in this version. That's very simple, and you can version control that file to track those changes. But there are a couple of problems with this approach if you really want to use for the production environment. One of those is if you have like 10 dependencies of your app, maybe that 10 dependencies will have another couple of hundreds of sub-dependencies. You can only specify the direct dependency, and if you specify, for example, like colors and 5.7, it was like a couple of years ago, so you can still pull that. But if you go install colors 5.7, that will pull out all the sub-dependencies which were latest on cpanm, which might not work with that version of colors that you specify. So you have to specify the whole tree, not the direct dependency. And Meta CPAN API can be sometimes slow, can be down, I don't know. So it's a failure. If you want to deploy and Meta CPAN is down, you have to wait. It's going to be not great. And there's no easy and reliable way to roll back to some certain point in time when the deployment fails. I'm going to talk about that this later. So and there are many other solutions to this problem. CPAN, managing CPAN dependencies like hell, and there are many solutions like Intel, SuperH, MyCPAN, there are a bunch of other tools. And if you use one of those tools and happy with it, then that's no problem. It's fine. These solutions need servers, need database, sometimes too simple, sometimes too complicated. So I just go another one. So let's just talk about 10 minutes in. We're going to talk about Carton. It's not, again, inspired by Ruby Bundler, because I've been working on Ruby, doing Ruby for professional work for the past two years, and there's a lot of great tools in Ruby. It's not available in Perl yet. So it's one of the tools that I'm trying to steal from Ruby. Its basic idea is really simple. It describes the CPAN dependencies in CPAN file, just like we saw earlier. And snapshot is pass name, remember the names. You know, when you install a module from CPAN, you give the name and you get the path m/my/miyagawa/prac-1.1100. These file path names, remember it, snapshot to the file, and then you repeat that on a different machine. So Carton is built on top of CPAN file and cpanm, and these features are available. Walk you through one. It provides a local Perl environment. It's related to the fact the dependencies are part of your app. So when you have multiple applications in the machine, these applications have a separate, completely isolated local environment. It's internally just implemented with local web. So it doesn't depend on your system having some modules on the system /user. And install is really fast and safe with cpanm. And it provides you the analysis of the dependency tree, which module is required by which module. And you can run the check command to see if anything is missing, anything is not required anymore. You can strip this kind of analysis. And of course, you can freeze the versions, lock the versions by specifying, I don't want this version. And when you copy that file to another machine and then run the command again, you are guaranteed to have the same tree with the same version of the modules to the roots. And the update is by default conservative, which means unless you tell Carton to do so, it will not update the version as long as your requirements are satisfied. I'm going to show you this later. And the dependencies are managed as just a single file, actually two files, cpan file and cpan file.snapshot. And it's a text file, so you can just commit to the version control system like git, what's the version, and you can just keep in sync with the code and the dependencies changes just to the file and git or version control system, any control system. And when your deployment fails, or if you want to roll back to the previous version, just use version control system to rewind to any point in the past, and that's how you specify the versions. So I'm going to show you a little bit of like that. So I'm going to create a simple empty folder. Doesn't have anything. Net. I'm going to use a framework to write some of that. It doesn't need to be web app, but let's use because it's easy and it doesn't have any dependencies by itself, so it's easy to explain. You got some file. I'm going to show the version number of the module. Version is version. And you can just run it as daemon option. So run the 4.58. That's the version that I have on this laptop. And it's like Perl. I use PLN. You can use Perl or just system Perl. It's loading the module from my site Perl. So if you copy this to another machine, you might not run the same version because it might not be installed yet. So what we're going to do is to declare that dependency with the cpan file. Requires and then run Carton install. This will allow dependencies from cpan file and then install them from cpan to your local environment. The local environment is in this folder, local. And when you look at that, it's a standard local web directly. So it's a local bin, local web profile with .pm file and a bunch of files, and then use directly. So, and we will also have cpan file that snapshot, which is a text file. It has basically the text representation of what you saw in the directory. It has these modules in which version, and requires maker 0 and Perl 5.10.1. And path name, this is the most important one. The CPAN path is saved in the snapshot file. So what you're going to do is to ignore the local, it's not needed. MPL, CPAN file, snapshots, and so right now we have only one module in this local snapshot. And when you run the daemon command, it still pulls the module from Cypher, because that's not what we want. Carton exec mypl. This is the way to tell Carton to run the command with the local layer specified as the included path, not the Cypher. Because we have the same version of the module, so if the output is not the same, so let's change it. Let's say your application has a problem is a 4.58, like 4.58 changes some API, or fix the bug that you were relying on, or something like that. So let's say I need to have 4.50, not 58. You can say equals to pin version after the requirements, and then Carton install. This will call modulations 4.50, let's see that. So that there's modulations 4.50 downgraded from 4.58. And you run Carton list, it says 4.50 instead of 58. And when you run Carton exec my app, it will say 4.50, right? If you remove that Carton exec, it will remove 4.58 because it's logged in the platform. So when you've done git depth, what's changed? It's a really simple change. This CPAN file, I changed this manually, and that snapshot has been updated by Carton. 4.58, it changed to 4.50 with the change path, and the list of packages has been changed as well. So let's do that. So right now we have only local development. Let's see how we deploy this code in the other machine. Because I don't have two machines right now. I'm going to create a new directory with a git clone. Basically, clone this directory into the client. And Carton install -- deployment. It's an option to tell Carton to not update the snapshot. By default, you run Carton install, and you change the Carton CPAN file. And if there's any new requirements that's not satisfied in the local environment, it will try to update to the latest. But because it's a deployment environment, you're not going to want that behavior. So Carton install deployment will pull that code, the same code in the snapshot, and basically the same thing. All right. So let's get back to the whole. So right now we have 4.50. And let's say you have fixed the bug in your code, and it's safe to update one resource to the latest. You want to do that. How do you do that? You can just delete this equals, right? Because you can say 4.50 or later. Any version will be alright. And save it, and run Carton install. But it doesn't actually update it. It's just kind of complicated stuff. Let's see if it shows 450. It's a kind of bug in my code, but it actually knows this stuff. Carton exec. It says 50, right? So its output is kind of buggy, but it's actually loaded 50. So what's happening here is you have 4.50 and your CPAN file says 4.50 or later. So it's already satisfied. So by default, Carton install is conservative. It doesn't try to update it as long as it's satisfied. So how do you tell Carton to be not conservative and update to the latest, even if it's satisfied? That's the Carton update mode. You try to see if there's any new update in CPAN.
Excuse me, Miyagawa-san?
Yes?
Could you do a Carton list for us to show us what's there at the moment?
List is 4.50.
So it is showing that even though it's not using it.
Well, it's a bug in cache. It's a cache in local, and it picks up the wrong file. So this is a bug. I need to fix it. But basically, the file has been reverted to 50, and then when you run update, it will be updated to 50. That's what's happening here. So when you run git def, I changed the CPAN file, and then a snapshot has been updated back to 58. Right? So update. So this is the basic workflow of pinning and updating a module using CPAN file. But right now, it only has one module, and it's not going to be fun. So let's add some module here. How about displaying the current time is date time. Time is date time now. Current time. So Carton exec Perl even. This will unfortunately works without any problem. You might notice why it's unfortunate, because datetime is not in the local environment yet, but it's installed on my site Perl. So it's pulling the wrong file from the system. One of the solution things you can do to avoid this is to do this. But I'm going to add this to Carton exec in the next version, so you don't need to do this. But basically, this will only pull from local. So datetime here is not loaded from your cycle. This is the way what you want for the default. Previously, this was the default behavior, but one of people have some problem with the development environment, and so I just deleted that feature. Hope to get it back. Anyway, in this situation, you edit the CPAN file again to require this datetime and Carton install. This will, because I added datetime, it will pull datetime and a bunch of other dependencies in the system in the local. So we'll probably have a bunch of dependencies. Any questions? Yes?
Can you actually build an app with all your dependencies declared in the app itself, and then run Carton to actually pick those dependencies up and what version you want, and then create the CPAN file from your app creation?
I mean,
so you write my app PL, and then you say use this, use that,
right,
whatever with the versions get, but then Carton will inspect that and create a
right,
file based on.
right.
These are CPAN file multi-view, right?
There's a command called scan products CPAN file, and when you specify my PL, it scans the PL file and the .pm as well indirectly, and then specify emits the CPAN file, so you can save it into CPAN file and then run Carton. The nice thing about it is we should specify my PL and then datetime 1.0. It's actually specified this as well. So if your code has a bunch of these, it will automatically create this template for you. Anyway, datetime is now installed. I'm going to take the question next. Carton list, it has a bunch of more modules just not just one. And run Carton tree, you get a nice text tree representation of your dependency. So daytime holds daytime locale, this one shows. It's kind of nice. And you can show one specific module. You can specify whatever doesn't exist. It's not exist. So the hack, and it's not complaining anymore, and it runs just fine. And let's see the depth. Has a bunch of changes in the snapshot. There's I added a bunch of modules, and then so that. So when you want to deploy this into other machine, you will not have Carton yet on that machine. So that's one of the problems with this running. The easy thing you can do is just to install Carton just like a normal module. It's like Perl, it's globally right into the system if you want. I have a CPAN MetaDB. It's a backend for cpanminus. Whenever you run cpanminus, it will query this server. It's running on Linux in the US, and I use Carton and Flag, and, a bunch of tools. I have a Git repository for this deployment stuff as well, and it's on my GitHub. You can search for it. So I install Carton on that target machine first, and then run Carton install. But if that's not visible in any reason, there's a different way to do this. So when it's Carton bundle, it creates a bundle for that you can take offline. So when you list the find local, there's a bunch of cache, local cache, tuples in here. So when you run Carton bundle, it copies all the bundle into a vendor, and vendor has cache and all these tuples in here. And so let's add the vendor to Git, and then go to the deploy machine and hit 4. And Carton install deployment cached. I can take Wi-Fi off here, and then because all the vendor files are copied already, it doesn't talk to any CPAN, it doesn't talk to the main CPAN, it doesn't propose anything. All the dependencies are resolved on the snapshot already, and all the tables are in the vendor file directly already. So it doesn't talk to the internet anymore. So that's, if your deployment machine doesn't have internet or has a security policy firewall, it's going to be a solution. But it still runs Carton from my Cypher or bin. You might wonder how to get Carton in the first place if the machine doesn't have internet. So vendor has another directory called vendor bin. So you might already know this, but vendor bin Carton. It's 2 megabytes of Perl script. And it basically just use the file packer to install all the dependencies into a single file. So you can see vendor bin Carton and Carton install, going as established. And that works fine. As long as you have the same Perl version, I recommend you to have the same major version of Perl on the deployment and machine. Because one of the core modules gets in and out every Perl release, and some of the modules might be kind of complex. So I recommend you to build this file path if you really want with the same version of Perl. Alright. So that was the demo. Any questions? Yes.
Well, actually, I've been having great success running without using Carton on the production server, just by setting the Perl file label. I think I used that for months before I even saw the Carton exec.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if there's going to be like more dependencies on using Carton exec in the future. So
Right, yeah. Right now, what Carton exec does is just to load the snapshot, make sure everything is in there, and then set the profile view path to local web and then one command. That's all there is to it. I don't know if I have some suggestions to do in addition to that in the deployment machine, development machine. Like development environment, like I said, it's sometimes useful to exclude Perl from local environments. So just make sure if you're not leaking into sys Perl. But I don't know what else you're going to do in the deploy machine. I think running the code without Carton exec just is fine.
So core modules just always ignored from the CPAN file and CPAN file snapshot?
As well, if you specify a core module that's not shipped with, the version that's not shipped with core, it will be included in the snapshot. But if that requirement is already shipped with Perl, it's right now it's ignored.
Like X2 tools maker was in the snapshot file, but not in the...
Exactly. Yeah, it's specified in the snapshot, but because it's already shipped with Perl, it's not in the bundle. I have a feature suggestion to be able to specify the target Perl version.
Right.
I think it can be done using the code qualist module, but it's kind of a little bit complicated because sometimes it leaks out to the system Perl. So that might be done. Right now, it's interpreter's version and snapshot version, as you said. Yes.
If you remove the dependency from your application for a particular module,
Yeah.
Can you tell Carton to remove that from your local directory?
There's no, that's a very nice feature that I want as well. And right now, there's no automatic way to do it. But if you remove that module from the CPAN file by yourself, it will be removed eventually from the snapshot. That's one of the things I want to do with the Carton exec in the development machine. So when you run Carton exec, and it will install some hook in the included ink, and then when you find a module that's not used in your code, it can be one or something like that. Maybe you can do that, but right now there's no automatic way to get that.
We blow away the local to do that. On our build server, we blow away the local because of that,
Right.
to make sure.
Right.
Just read local every single time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's
the best.
that's the thing to do. There are pros and cons to do so. So when you deploy it to a production machine, you can do one of the two. One is to copy that local over to every release. That makes a faster release because all the incremental changes has to be installed and not all. But if you clear all the local environment and build for every deploy, you guarantee to have a clean environment. But that will take time if you have hundreds of dependencies. So that's the trade-off. But if you have a continuous integration server, Travis or Jenkins, you might be able to build those dependencies into Jenkins and then copy it to production.
We've been trying Carton in production, experimenting with it, trying to make it work for us. We have a few XS modules as dependencies to go out. Do you see in the future any way of perhaps, because it's unfortunate that we need to install a pilot on the machine and potentially install dependencies like XML parsing libraries and so on.
Yeah.
Is that going to be part of the scope of Carton, or do I need to find some difference?
Right. Yeah, that's one of the complicated part of this. There are two problems with it. One is the these binary dependencies, XS dependencies can be installed. Sometimes can be installed only on some specific platform, like Linux. For example, if you deploy Linux and development on Mac, some of the modules are only available on Linux, and you run the Carton command on the Mac. That dependency is not detected, and when you go to the production, some of the modules are missing. So that's one of the complicated situations. You can use this as a virtual machine or something. That's the easiest to work around. And the other is the XS C library header files build tools might be required in addition to just a Perl module. I think there's like alien modules to declare alien get to, depend on get to whatever. And that's one of the things to do. I don't know what's the implemented might do. I don't have any strong preference on that. And all Carton does is just to manage the dependencies as Perl as possible and some access. And if that access requires external tools, header files, whatever, and that's unfortunately right now that's out of the system, out of the dependency management. If you have any suggestion, I'm happy to.
Don't you have to disable the fat packer if you want to use access modules? Because I read somewhere that only works with your Perl modules. So I filed a bug report and then you told me not to use fat packer and it works for me.
But, sorry, yeah, fat packer it doesn't pack your application. Fat packer only packs Carton. And Carton requires some access modules, but that's optional. And I think all the pure Perl dependencies can be built to just build the fat packer. The application requires access to whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a little, yeah.
First of all, we use Carton on production. Thank you very much. Solved a load of problems.
Great.
One of the issues we had is that we have like a little dot pan that's got a few of our own modules in it, and we struggle with multiple mirrors.
Yeah.
I think we've got a fork of Carton, but if we could upstream that, it would be really helpful.
Yes. Yeah, I have actually two pending pull requests to add multiple mirrors. Right now, you can specify with the environment variables, and I used to accept comma to display to specify that. Yeah, there's a pull request pending for next time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the other thing I meant to ask was I didn't find any documentation, but I think there's a couple of environment variables for specifying where your CPAN file is and where your CPAN file snapshot is if you're not running from the directory.
Right.
But I don't think they were in the docs, and I've been a bit lazy
Right.
about pushing anything out to fix that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was the best time to say it.
Yeah. There are some options available on the install time and exec time and some environment variables. There's a little bit of inconsistency that I don't like. That's why I hesitated to document it. But it's kind of a secret feature.
Okay, I find documentation code anyways.
Yeah.
Fix that.
Yeah, so right now cpan file and cpan file.snapshots and local is meant to be on the current directory, but sometimes that's not useful. For example, when you use something like Capistrano style deployment, you will have a bunch of directories and siblings together. In that case, you will have a separate directory to store these files. So that's the situation where you might want to use some different directories. So actually, it's not done yet. So the deployment is Carton. Let's get back to it. Locally use Carton install, commit those snapshot file, git push. Then it pull, or rsync, whatever way to get the file, and then Carton install with -- deployment option. Then use Carton exec to run the executable. So this is the repository that I was talking earlier. cpanm.dd Perl. It's a complete set of recipes for Capistrano, Substarter, Carton, Blackout to manage the updates and restarts and these things. So you can take a look at that. And if you want to build your application, deploy your application to an environment that's not on your control, like platforms as others, Heroku, Cloud, CloudFoundry, all these bunch of platform services. Heroku doesn't have Perl support natively. They do not support Perl by themselves, but there's a stuff called build pack, so you can write your own build pack to support any language that you want. And so I wrote that for Perl. I created a branch, it's an experimental build pack that supports Carton. So when you add cpan file, cpan file snapshot, Carton install, and git push to help it. It will run the Carton install deployment on the server side and use the Carton exec to run the deployment. And I wrote about my blog, so you can take a look at that. If you want that in other platform services like Docker, Travis, Cloud Foundry, I plan to talk to these guys about it, but the best thing you can do is to just talk to yourself, and they will listen. And so Carton 1.0 is CPAN ready. You can get with cpanm. And I'm working on the next major release of Carton cpanm, so I'm going to give you a preview of that in 5 minutes. cpanm 1.8, it's an internal rewrite release, so there's no major user visible feature yet. It basically supports Git more extensively internally, and cpan file is a format, and the parser has been updated to support Git repository. I'm going to show you an example later. So Carton 1.1, all these things come together, and requires a module version number with the specific Git repository URL, and that is the difference to a commit or a branch of that, which by default I think is master. You can also say that it's a specific path of the. You can actually specify URL here, so you can say http:// increment .cpan whatever. It will probably work. I haven't tested it, but yeah, it will work. So let's show just a quick demo of it. Just to show this is not a broken object or requires hash of the semi modules again and get https You can use get, but apparently this Wi-Fi seems like plugging to get. So when Carton without any argument, it's Carton install. So Carton install hash multi-value 4.15, but when you say Carton show hash multi-value, you say 759 the function. So it's the hash of the get. So when you see cpan file snapshot, it has HTTPS to give out that hash. So this is frozen at the install time, and when you go to deployment, it will pull that. Git, I don't think Git repository support should be abused. I talked about this in Nordic Perl workshop, and there's a lot of people talking to, can I use Git to do this and that? And I have a bunch of cpan modules on my GitHub Enterprise, and can I use that? Of course, you can do that, but the Git support is mainly to provide the way to provide a hotfix for the application. When you see a module on CPAN that's broken, and you send the patch to author, but author is not, being responsive for 24 hours, and your customer is waiting for fix. In that case, you fork a module on GitHub and push the fix and pin it to the Git, deploy, and wait for the author to fix it, and then get back to CPAN. That's the normal. Anyway, running out of time. So cpanm 1.8, I want to do a bunch of stuff. I haven't talked about it yet. But Carton 1.1, in addition to that Git support, bin stubs. When you use Carton, there's a bunch of you have to have Carton exec, and you probably want to have a shortcut for that. So all the executable binaries, you will have a shortcut installed. So you don't have to type Carton exec for every command. Configure arguments. So a couple of modules, DVD modules that are like external tools, requires an arguments to configure, like probing file pl, --l, whatever. Right now, there's no way to specify that. It kind of sucks. So I want to provide a way to specify that. And save exec gun development as already I talked about. So, repository on GitHub, and there's RC channel, and RC developer. And this slide will be uploaded to speaker deck. And I posted a screencast on my blog and YouTube, and presentation is available. If you want to support the development, you can buy the spec for $5 3 times. Gap.co/pmxt. But it's available for free, so it's up to you. Anyway, 5 minutes. Questions? Yes?
Could you talk more about the bin stubs feature?
Okay.
Why not just set the path to the environment variable?
Right. So, well, basically bin stubs. So, one of the commands we're going to use a lot during the development, for example, prove the running the test. Right now, you have to make sure type Carton exec group -lbrt to make sure that all the modules are loaded from the local environment. I actually alias Carton exec to CX, type less, but it would be nice if you could just do type prove and it will be automatically loaded Carton exec. You can slowly change the path to bin, but the executable by itself doesn't add Perl file automatically right now. So you have to do two things: change the path and then change Perl file. So the bin stub means is Carton will create the bin stub files in the bin directly or whatever directory you specify with the wrapper shell script or Perl script that is that and exec to the actual event. That's the plan.
But isn't that what app local lib helper does?
Maybe. Yeah.
There's also somebody who ported virtual M from Python to Perl, which I'm using, and
Yeah.
so it works for me perfectly now.
Right.
Mostly it's possible.
Yeah. Ruby's bumper has bin stubs, and then there are some, arguments about it. Authors recommend to use shell scripts to do bin stubs. Other people use a DRM hook to change the path automatically when you CD to it. There's many more than one way to do it, so I'm going to provide just another way to do it. Yes.
Sometimes if you've got an app running live for a while and you've been particularly dirty, it's kind of got a stack of stuff installed into a Perl brew or something and you don't know what version is running and so on. It'd be really good to have a way of
extract the versions.
Yeah, Tim did something a while ago with that, and hooking the two together into a tool chain would be really useful.
So I showed the scan CPAN file.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways to pull the dependency you already explicitly declare. And the other nice thing to have for legacy app, let's say, is to you have a bunch of directly with a bunch of modules that you don't know anything about, and pull those out. I think Tim's tools is severe. I think you can use to grab out the list, and maybe you can pipe it to something else.
Yeah, that's the bit I don't know. I remember him showing it like last year or a year before, but I don't know how to turn it into a CPAN file. I haven't looked at it yet. But it would be a nice tool chain to have to allow people to migrate into Carton for the first time.
Yeah, I agree. Any other question? Yes?
What's your sort of current favorite approach to handling non-Perl dependencies?
Non-Perl dependencies.
Non-Perl.
I think I use Homebrew on the board, and on the remote I just use package management.
So whatever Linux distribution.
Yeah.
What about for Perl itself?
Right. Right now I use a Perl build. It's Perl build. It's a Perl scripted to build Perl, basically. It's Perl brew's internal code extracted as the standard version. So I just git clone this and then run the command to install it into /. But you can certainly use. I don't recommend Perl, provided by the distribution most of the time. So, yeah.
Have you looked at Red Hat's software components technology that they're using for? So basically, you have alternative sets of RPMs, so Perl RPMs that are separate from system Perl, or Python that's separate from system Python.
Yeah, that will work for if you use an app and use different version of it. It's not on the schedule, but I was supposed to have a little bit of hands-on, and there's no room booked for this. But if you want to ask more questions, feedback, have any problem that you want my hands-on, I'll be probably at the lobby, so thank you very much.